Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want you to imagine a moment so quiet, so ordinary, that no one would ever expect it to change lives forever. A moment that begins with a simple sentence spoken by a girl no one was paying attention to. A moment that made a millionaire woman, someone who thought she had already cried all the tears. She had completely break down in public. The rain had just started falling that afternoon. The kind of light drizzle that blurs the edges of the city without truly washing anything away. Cars moved slowly along the street, their tires hissing against the wet asphalt. Inside a high-end charity gala hall, warm lights glowed, expensive dresses shimmered, and soft music floated through the air. This was one of those events where powerful people gathered to talk about compassion while holding glasses that cost more than most people's monthly rent. At the center of it all stood Evelyn Hart, a self-made millionaire philanthropist and one of the most respected businesswomen in the city. Cameras loved her, magazines praised her strength, people admired her generosity, but none of them truly knew her. None of them knew that behind her calm smile lived a wound that never healed. 10 years earlier, Evelyn's 6-year-old daughter, Lily, had vanished without a trace. One moment, Lily had been standing right beside her at a crowded festival. The next, she was gone. No screams, no witnesses, no answers, just a pink balloon, found hours later, tangled in a tree near the park entrance. That image had haunted Evelyn ever since. The police searched for months. Volunteers covered miles. Posters were plastered on every wall, every bus stop, every grocery store. And then, slowly, the search faded. The world moved on. But Evelyn never did. She poured her grief into work, built an empire, funded charities, donated to missing children foundations, smiled for interviews, spoke about hope, but every night, she went home to a silent mansion and whispered her daughter's name into the darkness. That evening, at the gala, Evelyn stood on stage giving a speech about resilience and kindness. Her voice was steady, practiced. The audience listened politely, applauding at all the right moments. She talked about the importance of protecting children, of never giving up on those who are lost. What they didn't realize was that every word was a reflection of her own pain. As she finished speaking, the room erupted into applause. Evelyn nodded, smiled, and stepped down from the stage. Her assistant leaned in to congratulate her, already talking about the next interview. Evelyn barely heard a word. That's when she felt a small tug on the side of her dress. She looked down, slightly startled. Standing there was a girl, maybe 12 or 13 years old. She wore worn sneakers, a faded hoodie, and her hair was tied back in a messy ponytail. She didn't belong in this room of luxury and polished smiles. Security must have missed her somehow. "I'm sorry," Evelyn said gently, assuming the girl was lost. "Are you looking for someone?" The girl looked up at her, eyes serious, almost too serious for someone so young. She hesitated, as if gathering courage, then spoke softly. "Ma'am, I know that missing child." The world seemed to stop. The noise of the room faded into a dull hum. Evelyn's heart slammed against her chest so hard she felt dizzy. She had heard those words before. Over the years, dozens of people had claimed to know something. Psychics, liars, attention seekers, broken souls, chasing reward money. Normally, she would have smiled politely and walked away. But something about this girl was different. "What did you say?" Evelyn asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The girl swallowed. "The child you keep talking about. The one in the photos, Lily." Hearing her daughter's name from a stranger's mouth felt like being struck by lightning. Evelyn's knees weakened. She reached for a nearby chair, gripping it to steady herself. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice trembling now, despite her effort to stay composed. "My name is Maya," the girl said. "I didn't know her, not really, but I've seen her." Evelyn's breath caught. Her eyes filled with tears. She fought desperately to hold back. "Where?" she demanded, a mix of fear and hope tightening her chest. When Maya glanced around nervously, people were starting to notice the unusual scene: a scruffy girl speaking intensely with the elegant millionaire. "Not here," she said quietly. "It's not safe to talk here." Evelyn didn't hesitate. She turned to her assistant and said firmly, "Clear my schedule, now." Minutes later, they were sitting in a quiet side room, far from the gala's noise. Security stood outside, but Evelyn waved him back, insisting on privacy. She sat across from Maya, her hands shaking uncontrollably. "Please," Evelyn said, tears now streaming freely. "You have to tell me everything." Maya took a deep breath. "I grew up moving around. Shelters, group homes, sometimes places that weren't official." She paused, her jaw tightening. There was a house, not a nice one. Kids were brought there. Some stayed for a while. Some disappeared. Evelyn felt sick. "There was a girl there," Maya continued. "Quiet, kind. She used to sing at night when she thought no one was listening. She had a small scar on her left knee, and she called her mom Mama even when she talked in her sleep." Evelyn let out a broken sob. Lily had fallen off her bike at 4 years old, scraping her knee badly. She had a scar, and she had always called Evelyn Mama, never Mom. "What happened to her?" Evelyn whispered, afraid of the answer. "I don't know," Maya said honestly. "One day, she was just gone. The woman who ran the place said she'd been taken somewhere better, but I never believed that. How long ago? Evelyn asked. About 8 years. Maya replied. Hope and agony twisted together inside Evelyn's chest. Lily would be 14 now. If she was alive, why are you telling me this now? Evelyn asked softly. Maya looked down at her hands. I saw your face on a poster once. Years ago. I didn't understand it then. But today, when you were talking on stage, I recognized her. In your eyes, the same sadness, the same love. Evelyn broke completely. She leaned forward, covering her face as sobs shook her entire body. Years of suppressed grief poured out in one overwhelming wave. She cried for the little girl she lost, for the birthdays missed, for the lullabies never sung, for the hope she had buried deep just to survive. Maya sat quietly, letting her cry. When Evelyn finally looked up, her face was wet, her makeup ruined, her polished image shattered. But for the first time in years, she felt something else beneath the pain. Bought hope. You did the bravest thing coming to me, Evelyn said, her voice raw. And I promise you, I will not stop until I find her. That night, Evelyn contacted her private investigators, then the police, then every connection she had built over a decade of influence. The case was reopened with renewed urgency. Maya provided every detail she could remember, the location, the people, the routines. Weeks turned into months of searching, dead ends, false leads, sleepless nights. Evelyn refused to give up. She visited shelters, spoke to social workers, reviewed old records herself. For the first time since Lily disappeared, she wasn't just reacting to grief. She was moving towards something. Maya stayed with Evelyn during this time. The millionaire opened her home to the girl who had carried the truth for so long. She made sure Maya was enrolled in school, surrounded by care and safety. Slowly, a bond formed between them, one built on shared loss and unexpected connection. Then one evening, the call came. A girl matching Lily's description had been found in another state, living under a different name, older, scarred by life, but alive. Evelyn dropped the phone. Her heart pounded so violently she thought she might collapse. She grabbed her coat, barely able to breathe, and rushed to the airport. The reunion didn't happen with dramatic music or perfect words. It happened in a small, sterile room at a youth center. A teenage girl sat at a table, thin, wary, her eyes guarded. When Evelyn walked in, their eyes met. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the girl stood slowly, her lips trembling. Mama, she whispered. Evelyn crossed the room in 2 steps and wrapped her arms around her daughter, holding her as if the world might steal her away again. They cried together, years of pain, confusion, and love collapsing into one moment. Outside the room, Maya watched quietly, tears streaming down her face. She had kept her promise. Months later, Evelyn stood on another stage. This time, no gala, no luxury, just a simple room filled with families, social workers, and children. My daughter was missing for 10 years, she said, and she was found because one brave girl chose to speak up. She turned to Maya, sitting in the front row. Never underestimate the power of your voice. You never know whose life you might change. The audience stood in silence, many wiping tears from their eyes. This story isn't just about wealth or loss. It's about courage, about truth, about listening to the voices we often overlook. Sometimes, hope doesn't come from experts or authorities. Sometimes, it comes from a quiet girl tugging on your sleeve and saying the words that change everything. If this story moved you, take a moment to reflect on the people around you. Listen more closely. Speak up when something feels wrong. And never stop believing that even after years of darkness, light can still find its way home. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.